Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a fantastic stack of sources you've sent over. We're looking at forecasts from Chestertons, MLA, and Good Lord. And our mission today is pretty simple. We're going to unpack what's really coming for the UK housing market in 2026 and 2027.
And the big headline, I think, is stability, or what looks like stability on the surface anyway.
Right, because when you drill down, it seems like a completely different story.
Exactly. This surface-level calm is, I think, hiding some really radical structural shifts, especially in the private rental sector.
Yeah, that's what we need to get into. The general feeling for 2026 is, what, a year of modest gains?
Very modest. It's not the dramatic swings we've seen. It's more of a cautious return of confidence.
Okay, so let's start with the sales market then, the core numbers.
Hmm.
Chesterton's is predicting, well, pretty marginal increases.
Very marginal. We're talking house values. And this includes Greater London, edging up by maybe 2% in 2026.
And even less in prime central London, just 1%.
Yeah, and the reasons for that are, what you'd expect. We've got lower borrowing costs, hopefully on the horizon, and tax policy is a bit clearer after the autumn budget.
But buyers are still being very selective.
Oh, extremely. The economy isn't exactly roaring, so they're being careful.
And that leads us to the rental side, because it all connects.
It does.
There was that huge market tremor, wasn't there,
Yeah.
after the Renters' Rights Act? Fears of a mass landlord sell-off.
A huge fear. But it didn't quite pan out that way. A lot of owners chose to stay put, which actually prevented a total stock collapse.
So that kept things stable for renters.
It did. Chesterton's thinks rents in Greater London will rise, but only mildly. Maybe 2 or 3%.
Which is a much slower pace than we've been used to.
Exactly. But the fundamental break on the whole system remains tenant affordability.
That's the key figure, I think. The fact that the average tenant is spending 40% of their income on rent.
40%! I mean, just think about that.
Well, you can't save for a deposit on that. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So you can't become one of those selective buyers we just mentioned.
You can't. And that is the core contradiction.
How so?
Because if affordability is that stretched, how can the lending market be so optimistic?
Right.
You look at the capital flowing in and the picture changes completely. The Intermediary Mortgage Lenders Association, IMLA, is predicting really solid growth.
How solid are we talking about?
Gross mortgage lending is forecast to hit a whopping $320 billion in 2026.
$320 billion. And what about the buy-to-let sector specifically? That's what feeds the rental supply.
And that's where it gets really interesting. MLA expects it to jump from $39 billion this year to $44 billion in 2026.
And then up to $48 billion in 2027? That's a huge climb.
It's a flood of finance, but, and this is the most important part, this money isn't for the small accidental landlord anymore.
So who is it for? Who's benefiting from these stronger yields?
It's for the new professional class of investor. And that leads us directly to the massive shakeout that Tom Goodman at Good Lord is forecasting.
A great landlord exit.
Exactly.
Right.
He thinks 2026 is the year smaller landlords and, frankly, older agencies just can't handle the pressure anymore and get out.
So what's the compliance burden that's actually pushing them out? Is it one big thing or lots of little things?
It's the aggregation of everything. Regulatory pressure, the margin squeeze. It's just the sheer weight of it.
Things like energy performance standards, licensing.
All of it. Energy standards, new deposit rules, stricter licensing. For a small operator, it's just become financially debilitating. The only people who can absorb those costs are those who are scaling up or finding a very specific need.
It's the institutionalization of the market.
It is. And Goodman also notes there's a generational factor.
The younger landlords being digitally native.
Right. They demand transparency, they want data, they want access. An agency that's still running on spreadsheets like they did 5 years ago is just not going to win that new professional business.
So what does all this mean for the tenant? For the person actually living in these properties?
It's a fundamental change in renting habits. We are seeing a major shift toward longer-term renting, sort of like the German model.
Which is interesting because you often hear that periodic tenancies could make people nervous about churn and insecurity.
You do, but the reality is the opposite, because finding an affordable, well-regulated place is still so difficult.
Once you find one, you're not going to want to leave.
They're going to want to stay put for years, not months. Stability becomes the big prize for the renter.
Okay, so let's synthesize the key takeaway for you listening. 2026 looks stable on the surface in terms of property prices. We're talking modest, manageable growth.
Right.
But underneath that, it is highly unstable in terms of who owns the rental stock, how they operated, and how long tenancies are actually lasting.
The whole sector is professionalizing, and it's doing it rapidly. This is a market that's becoming dominated by specialist capital.
Which leaves us with a really important final question for you to consider.
It does. If tighter regulations are forcing this move to specialized landlords who offer longer, more stable tenancies, how will this shift affect the balance between the tenant affordability problem on one side?
And the specialized landlords increasingly higher profit margins on the other.